Yeah, it's going now. I just want to make sure I get in there.
You're good. Good.
Well, we are back. What about that big local story, Ray? Well, the Collins has done the digging, and now Garrett Reeves is going to do the jumping weather tomorrow authorities for everything. That's from an old record player, that record that no one knows. That's all right. Nick Danger, Third Eye, you remember that?
Yeah.
Nick Danger, Third Eye. I was thinking there. Anyway, so we're back, and that's working, and we have the honorable and well-known, the well-regarded Greg Pond to open up the open. So give this man a round of applause. You'll be amazed and esteemed.
And Randall Wilson sitting in the on-deck chair. Randall?
Randall, if you're up here, have a seat, please. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't going to read this, but something Ed said inspired me, so I'm going to share this one. This one's entitled 5150, and it's not an autobiographical story, but 5150, for those who don't know, is a code for a 3-day hold for people who may be showing some psychiatric breakdown. So if they're a danger to themselves, they're a danger to someone else, they can hold them for 72 hours for observation. So this is 5150. In my deepest nightmare, a rickety elevator opened to a sign and arrow for north. A jangle of keys and locks, double-armed escort, then left alone in a box, to be lost in relentless back and forth, wondering all the while why these tiles never smile at me as I pace endlessly between these mental walls. No one believes me, so completely quiet, so no one can feel me moving in cat-like stalk for the prey in my imagination between these mental walls. No one could conceive my presence possible here, that I could lose grip and have done some shit that's just crazy. They say that's just why they've detained me between these mental walls. They say those seeds were planted long ago. I only tried to hurt myself, didn't mean to harm a soul. But they got me locked down so tight in this loony hole where I know I don't belong, where no one hears me call, though I can hear my own voice reverberating between these mental walls. They speak to me in sessions one-on-one on cautious eggshells, guessing their dumb questions ahead of time. If I only had keys, then I'd unlock some doors, sneak to another floor, and find a way to escape from between these mental walls. Later, all gets quiet. Medication falls in place. Lights out, secure restraints. While me, myself, and I'm just a buzzer away from attendants racing down long therapeutic halls. Suddenly I'm so tired and bored. Maybe the need for rest matters more than who's right or wrong. Now they say it's just a short sabbatical, expected to end in fall. But who really knows what will winter when, or if they ever let me leave, and let me finally pass between these mental walls.
We didn't tell you that's from his book, which he has here. Just so you know.
This one, hopefully for my next book, this one's called Phoenix. I am Phoenix, rising from smoke and smoldering ashes, a soul survivor. The flames are lapping after me, but I truly believe if I keep ascending, this fire will never reach this bird on the wire, unless I stop to breathe. So I continue to walk a tightrope towards the sun, balanced on wings, held by strings, not wax, so that mine won't melt like Icarus, and my arms won't flap in futility while my feathers float to sea. I'll fly me to the moon and pitch a ride on heaven's breeze, catch a current to carry me home if I happen to tire so I can rest my soul. Gonna fly so high that I won't get singed by the inferno below or the fire within. As the smoke climbs higher above the embers of anger, guilt, and rejection, see me soar above the pyre towards enlightenment and redemption. No longer a bird perched on a wire, but one who hovers far above the atmosphere where the moon and sun are lovers. I've been redirected, resurrected, reconnected, and inspired. Rising in the midst of this, I am Phoenix, soul survivor. Thank you.
Hey, come on.
Randall Wilson.
And now Randall Wilson, give a nice
Followed by
welcome.
Brianna Salisbury. Brianna, are you here?
Yes, okay, you're
You
following.
can sit in the on deck circle here.
Thank you.
Your batter up next.
Batter up, Nick. There we go.
So I was going to read this from my device, but I'm going to read it.
Your device.
No,
Oh!
real typed thing.
Okay, all right.
Typewriters. But it's in small print, so this is kind of hard.
You want to use my glasses?
No, I think I'll do okay on it. I'm not sure. I should have done it. So I don't write poetry, but I write like small, like memoir pieces. So this is a memoir of a friend from a long time ago when I was a kid. It doesn't have a title yet. Sometimes the smallest things are the one a person remembers long years after the event has passed. The fall of 1962, we had just moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and my little brother was in first grade, meeting new friends. He talked about his friend Jenna Lou all the time. She was the one that he had connected with. And because we were several grades apart, I didn't know her. But one night, shortly before Halloween, my mom had taken us to the shopping center for our costumes. Max was so thrilled because Jenna Lou was there, too, shopping for her costume. And with her was her little sister, 3-year-old Elizabeth Ann, and her mom. So with a few manipulations, he got my mom and her mom to meet. It came as a surprise to me, but the two moms actually seemed to get along. In the 50s and 60s, when parents met, it seemed like a formal thing. Mrs. this, Mr. that, never Mary or Tom. And so Mrs. Wilson had met Mrs. Doherty at Murphy's 5 and Dime. And it ended on the southern sort of friendliness that is generally a good feeling, which is generally a good feeling as it is empty. But it was the type of friendliness that my brother held on to for a 5-year-old. Halloween came and went, Thanksgiving and Christmas were on the horizon, and in that mild golden autumn. And before long, my grandmother arrived by taxi from the train station, and Granny was here for Christmas and her birthday, and my brother's 6th birthday. And a party was on the agenda, and of course his friends from first grade were invited. The top of the bill on the list was Jenna Lou and Elizabeth Ann. The play dates, they had the party, and Mrs. Doherty came, and my mom and Granny went to the living room, and they just talked. My sisters took care of the party in the dining room, and after they had arrived, and the kids had left one by one, all except Jenna Lou, Elizabeth Ann, and their mom. We joined Mom and Granny in the living room, and at this point, Granny talked about Henry Ford and his $5 a day work pay, and what that had to do with anything remains a mystery. Play dates with Jenna Lou increased throughout the spring. He'd go over to her house, and their mom would pick him up later for dinner. Sometimes Mom would go over early and just have coffee with Mrs. Doherty. She, like Mom, had been a nurse, and they talked about that sometimes. Other times it's just mom talk. For a lady who had just moved to Tennessee with 4 kids, working full-time at a hospital without any friends of her own, these quick little get-togethers with Mrs. Doherty were an oasis in a busy and sometimes chaotic schedule. I guess they were friends. This needs editing, so I'm going to pick it up a little bit later on. Around July, Max had a summer popcorn party of several of the kids from the neighborhood. And of course, Jenna Lou and Elizabeth Ann were invited. When the car pulled into our driveway, Mrs. Doherty looked very thin. When the car pulled, in a few short weeks, it was very noticeable. But that quickly vanished as she started talking about all the things that the girls had been doing. I think they'd been traveling to Florida to see the grandparents. As she got out of the car and she and Mom went inside, the popcorn party was a success with a croquet game being played in the yard, and Mom was quiet for the rest of the day. Eventually we had to move, and we lost track of people, so new friends quickly replaced the old ones. Homework and busy weekends came and took up much of the time. It was Halloween again. We remembered the trip to Murphy's from the year before. Mom recommended that we have Jenna Lou and Elizabeth Ann over for dinner, and it was arranged for her to be involved with our friends. It was strange for her to be involved with our friends. They were at the house. We took them home. It was a fun evening, and the news of their grandparents coming to visit. Mrs. Doherty was going to New York, Mom told us later on, and we would have to have the girls over while their mom was away. Later in the winter, we did have them over for dinner, and Max went over there. Mrs. Doherty was home, but usually not up. And Jan Lou's grandparents were there, but they were very quiet. One day, Max went out of the house, and Mom called my sisters and me into the kitchen. Mrs. Doherty, she told us, was very, very sick. And she had known since we had moved, but she had found out during the popcorn party. They were both nurses. It was 1963, and Mom and she knew that it wasn't very good news. But Mrs. Doherty was more upbeat about her life than other people put together. The mom had called to say that Mrs. Doherty, Bess, was going back to New York to Sloan Kettering. She had cancer. They might not be able to beat it at Sloan Kettering, but Mom cautioned us that my brother not be told. She wasn't sure how much the girls knew about their mom. It was hard to understand how it was that their friend of ours could be so full of life and so sick at the same time. She was stronger than most people. That Sunday in February, Max was driven over to play with the girls. They all had Beatle wigs on and played, and Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, the grandparents, looked on smiling. I knew things weren't happy, but that Sunday, those kids had a blast. A week later, Mom got a call. Mrs. Doherty had died in New York. When we got home, once again, she gathered us together to tell us. My brother would find out later on, once the girls had learned from their grandparents. On Sunday evening, early in March, Mom gathered us together in the living room. Max was sitting there with her. She slowly explained to him what was going on. She went on to say that she had never met anyone so open to discuss so serious things about life. We had never heard her talk about anything like this. I liked her, and there was a friendship there at the start, which I guess I felt from her. She told me she was hopeful that everything was going to be fine. He cried a little bit when we told her that she had died. The girls, Jenna Lou and her sister Elizabeth Ann, alone but still with her grandparents. A few days later, Mom went to the funeral, and we stayed home. Years went by. We lost track of the girls. We moved away, and so true to the empty phrase, we didn't stay in touch. But every spring, one of us will remember Jenna Lou, Elizabeth Ann, and Mrs. Doherty, just how special it was to have known them. And then we'd wipe off a tear. I remember, too, how gentle it was for Mom telling us that with Max, because they had both lost a friend. So I appreciate you listening to all of that. It needs a little bit of editing, but I hadn't heard it out loud, and sometimes that helps in the writing process.
So we're here. Yeah, so and now, wait a minute. We have a tradition here. She is new. This is your first time here, right?
First time.
Okay, so no, just because a lot of people here don't know this, we give them cheers, we pound the table, animal noises, yelling and screaming. Let's go!
Oh man, okay. Bear with me if I stutter. First time ever.
First time ever?
First time ever.
All right, we'll get it started there for you.
The mic is your friend.
The
Okay,
mic
thank
is
you.
your friend.
Step right up to it. There we go. A little closer if you can. That's it. Now you're cooking.
Alright. I cry so often, people must think I'm insane. But if they saw what was in my brain, they would still think the same. I want something in life, I crave it like cocaine. But I don't know what I'm looking for, so people make me feel like I'm flushing my life down the drain. I don't know if I'll ever find what I'm looking for, but it's the search that keeps me semi-sane. It's when I stop that I truly become insane.
Yeah.
Ignore me, like you always do. Don't listen. Why would you? Trust me? You would be a fool. Believe in my dreams and actually try? But why? They all just die. The you isn't you, though. It's me. I just pretend not to see that my own toughest critic is me. Do you ever want to cry and you have no real reason why? Part of you wants to die, but instead you run and hide. On the outside, all is fine and dandy, but the inside, you're confused yet demanding. You want something, but you don't know what. You can't explain it, so you keep your mouth shut. You close your eyes to try and see, and you open your lungs to try and breathe. Listen to your heart with every beat, because for once in your life, you know the monsters inside will see defeat. Blank mind, blank face. Why do I always feel like I'm in outer space? The stars feel like home, they welcome me with a warm embrace. Meanwhile, the earth makes me feel like a mindless drone, just trying to make it from place to place.
Kid Junior, you're up next. Come on up.
Take that. And this is also a new person, so now I have to do it. Welcome, new person.
Wendy, you're next.
Oh yeah, why don't you raise this up?
I got it.
Okay. Hi. So, I wrote this poem for all the heroes, the survivors, for all those still fighting. There's still a promise of rest. I call it Trailblazer. Trailblazer. Wandering through the vast unknown, jumping from planet to planet. The expanse of this universe is your playground. You steer through sky like knife slicing butter. Swift, slick, smooth. There is no gravity in this Milky Way holding you back. You are only limited by the fuel of your fire, Trailblazer. Unbound by the orbits, you're evolved to no sun, no planet. The stars pale in comparison to your brightness. Satellites give way to your fiery tail. The sun envies how you roam the ends of his solar system while he simply sits and spectates. You do not drift idly like the planets in their permanence. Your blazing trail is meant to spread through space. Trailblazer, I only catch glimpses of you on my earth. This is how you unravel ephemeral marble. See, I forgot. You see, angels do not come with harps and wings. They come as meteors and ashes. So heed my wish as prayers. Carry them to the heavens, and if the gods not grant my wish come true, at least let my night have you. Trailblazer, when everyone has finished wishing upon your shooting star brilliance, when you have navigated the stretch of this galaxy, when you have exhausted all your light, your fire, brace yourself, Trailblazer. Crash onto me. I rekindle your fire in my atmosphere one last time. Trailblazer, I am Comet Graveyard. With the craters on my surface as witness, let me home all your unwanted beautiful, your leftover upon star wish, your flickering stardust and shimmer. Find rest in my soil, breathe in my atmosphere, soak in my rain and sunshine, until your carbons turn to crystals, until voyagers unearth you to treasure, until you take to the skies again. Until then, trailblazer, prepare for collision. This is your landing. Thank you.
Yeah. Next we have Wendy Walters, followed by our mini feature,
Karen Melander.
Melander.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's? This is for you. That's the open mics that I know of in San Francisco. So, please come back here. But then those are the other ones you can explore if you'd like.
Another one.
Oh, another one. Sorry about that. Thank you. And
Wow, what an evening.
I know.
Thank you, Sally. I'm inspired to read a particular poem tonight after hearing you. And, oh gosh, being in a poetry hour, a poetry event is like coming home to the heart and soul. It really is, every time. I want to start with two quotes. Not written by me. This one was said by Maya Angelou. I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And I had to pay a street cleaning ticket the other day, and on the walls behind the people that wait on you are these quotes, and I wrote some of them down, and this is from Nelson Mandela. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. I'm actually I'll start with the one that was inspired to read for Sally, and then a new one I wrote, and go from a trip to Golden Gate Park and a flower piano event. This one is called Reverence. Why is it that when I hear birds singing, I feel happy? Why is it that after I laugh, my heart opens, soothed? Why is it that as I watch the sun's first rays on the horizon, thoughts disappear? Why is it that while I close my eyes and draw a deep breath, peace begins to grow? Why is it that the sound of falling water fills me with immeasurable harmony? Why is it that babies and small animals and seedlings sprouting through soft, fresh-smelling soil bring wonderment to every cell of my being? I am a child of the universe. My mind is still. My heart is open. I am in awe. How is this delight and contentment of birdsong, this wholeness and laughter, this calm peace oneness from a sunrise, this transforming appreciation, embracing everything, this grace begetting freedom, this fathomless beauty, this life? How is this?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so this is a poem I wrote after going to the flower piano event in Golden Gate Park. If any of you have never been, they have it once a year. They have 12 pianos around the Arboretum, and anyone can go and play on the pianos. And they have certain times when professional pianists play. So I wrote this poem. And it starts off with a little bit of a description of it, and I took some words from the brochure and then some haiku I linked together about my experience there. Flower piano. That's what they call it. They being the San Francisco Botanical Garden and Sunset Piano, who collaborate to provide an environment where local residents and visitors from around the world can co-create an outdoor concert hall where everyone is invited to play, listen, and enjoy the powerful relationship of music, community, and nature. All who come to the city's beloved Arboretum during these 12 special days discover 12 donated pianos strategically placed throughout its diverse collections of unique plant life and beautiful flower-filled gardens. Entering this garden, flower piano sculpture. Children touch the keys. Inside a meadow, people picnic, throw frisbees. Some bubbles float by. As we walk along, welcome signs show where to go. Teens play heart and soul. Seasoned musicians play classics, jazz, rock, and blues. Trees wave applause. Anyone can join. Students play for teachers, curious toddlers, too. In this special place for 12 days with 12 pianos, music and nature are one. Here, heaven meets earth as melodies waft through the air where earth meets heaven. Bird songs and pianos, humans play love's symphony. Nature plays its own.
Thank you. We'll announce our lead teacher. Karen, what's her last name?
Karen Melander Magoon. Karen Melander Magoon is our mini feature of the evening. We'll honor her by giving a nice round of applause as she comes up here. And
yes, please.
That was beautiful, Wendy. I love it.
Where's the
I went
quotes?
to the piano.
Other.
Where's Wendy? There. I went and what I liked best was just walking around in nature and hearing the pianos. It was just so unusual, kind of like birdsong and pianos and nature, and it was so good. I haven't sung for a while, and Sally, you must have talked about boats. So I thought whenever I hear poetry and of course moon, I'm a moon person too, but boats. So I have this kind of, I wrote it some time ago when I was in Ireland walking along, and I remember I was a little red boat and my sides were worn and gray. So I lay out there in the harbor afloat till he came to me one day. I blushed so much as a little red boat, for my sides were worn and gray. But he looked at me in the harbor afloat, and I heard him gently say, I want that boat, such a pretty red boat, all lonesome in the bay. I'll paint it bright till it glows in the night, and we'll all be happy, and may I have that boat, such a pretty red boat, all lonesome in the bay. I'll paint it bright till it glows in the night, and we'll sail away one day. One day we'll sail away. And thinking of Richard Sanderell, I found his poem in the Poets 11 anthology. I'm in it too, but this is, I'm not sure which district he is, but it doesn't matter. This is a little poem by Richard, whom we all miss. I'm thinking, there he is. I know he's come back, but anyway, he's been ill, and we're thinking.
He's okay. I talked to him
yeah,
today.
He's okay.
He's fine.
He's fine.
And he and I will be at La Promenade this
on
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me. La Promenade. All right. Everybody should go. It's great. Waiting. It was the African who turned me on. It was the Aboriginal from Turtle Island that gave me my heart. It was the European that gave me my sorrow. It was the American that tried to keep me ugly.
What's with it?
It was the Vietnamese that gave me forgiveness. May I forgive myself. Come back to the hoop. The elders have been waiting. So I was, I'm not sure of his relationship, but he is very, very tied into the indigenous peoples and Native Americans and their spirituality. So, and this obviously comes out in his poetry, and I just wanted to thank Richard for being out there, and hope we see him again soon. Okay.
Saturday night.
Saturday night. I'm going to try to be there. Yes, Saturday night at Promenade. Rainbows. We speak of rainbows ahead when the world seems bleak, leaking gold around the edges of twilight, or blue tears damping the dawn, reflecting prisms of rainbow. Closet door. The slats in the sliding closet door look all the same, proceeding horizontally across the door, each succeeding the other vertically, regimentally. And yet, through shadows and light, each reflecting different whites and grays, spots of dust, scratches, marks of time, seemingly changeless and yet each moment different, like each memory proceeding from my thoughts, new and old, never caught in static light or shade, toned in worry, softly lighted, with a white of happy moments veiled in dust, starred with gentle anguish. Now, this I wrote a while ago when I saw a picture of a baby in a basket, and they talked about the orphans left behind because of the gold rush. You can imagine, and this is called Gold Baby. Yeah, this is the less told story of the California gold rush, is that of the babies born homeless, the vulnerability of mothers and children, and the orphans left behind. The first orphanage was founded in California in 1851, so that is when people started being aware of the vulnerability of babies left behind in dramatic moments. The San Francisco Orphan Asylum was founded by Protestants. A little bit of information there. I think it was kind of a mixture, but then that's something else. Gold Baby, a tiny basket seemingly carried by 50 men. The baby, held like glass. A basket of hope, a basket of dreams, dreams and hopes of 50 men, reflected back from the eyes of a tiny orphan, orphan of gold, resting on hands of hope, 50 men, dreaming of gold in California. It's an amazing picture of these 50 men around this basket, and all vowed to see that no harm comes to this baby. It's just an amazing picture. I don't have it. I just saw it once and wrote this poem. But the humanity of people, just the humanity of life, compassion, just always moves me. This is fun. Window caterwaul. Windows open to the soul or bowl through alleyways of openings, caterwaul from point to point, edge to edge. Window sills are cat's delight, whose feline eyes may spurn the night, while gazing out a shining pane and deign to grin a silly grin, soft scratching with a kitty claw the sparkling mirror of their paw, another paw reflecting paw, and grin inside out and inside in, windows sliding, opening like a night of feline flight, down alleyways of cat's delight, through city streets caught secretly, discreetly, eyes by feline sight glowing outward in the night, windows dancing unbeknownst to cat and caterwauling fight, tightly spinning in the light reflected from a chandelier set in space behind a mirror of window cut into a wall defined by cat and caterwaul. This is called Pigeons, and I don't know if I told you, I birthed on my balcony 2 pigeons. If you've ever been through this, you know what it means to have a balcony, which is basically a nest of pigeon.
And I won't go into it too deeply, but it's a big deal. And these pigeons grew and thrived, and when they became of age and looked just a little bit smaller than their parents, this is, by the way, an amazing family story. We had 2 eggs, they hatched, the parents came. First the mommy is the big one, and then later the daddy is the big guy, because he's got to teach these children to fly. And he continues feeding them and encouraging them. And finally, they were going to fly. They were thinking they were going to fly. And the father came in and fed them again and went away. And I said, guys, you're going to fly. And so I had a little, what's this soft stuff that you dust with? I had a little dust. And I kind of tickled their feathers. And then they kind of slipped off the edge and came right back. And I said, you can see, you can fly. You already flew 3 feet. And then they flew the balcony underneath. This is the one first. He was the brave one. And then he flew across the street. And here's his brother or sister. And I said, okay, gal, it's your turn. And so we got the fly. I think Father was very proud in the long run. So. And now they still wander around, and they still think my balcony is home, which the neighbors don't like, but at least it's a very clean home. So. And anyway, so this is pigeons. Nomenclature, some say doves, peace doves, perhaps. Some say messy, useless street trash. 2 baby pigeons have been on my balcony since their birth a month ago. They sleep mostly as bundles of gray-brown fur become spotted, then sleek, with the stripes of their parentage. Each day, mother feeds them. Now father comes to feed and teach them to fly. The adolescent birds greet daddy with wild flapping of wings and excitement, hoping to fly with him, but having to wait another day, and another. Today they are resting, waiting to fly in their messy nest made by 2 devoted parents, modeling what is important in life, love, and family. I didn't get into all of that.